How's it going, class? This is Mr. Miles. We have a podcast today, and it's going to be 4.5, so Chapter 4, Lesson 5, and if you're following along the book, that's page 158. So today we're going to be talking about vertebrate diversity. Last time we were introduced to vertebrates, but today we are going to talk about the different types. And the first thing I'm going to bring up is the 5 major groups that we're going to talk about. They're going to be the fishes, the amphibians, the birds, skipped one, the reptiles, the birds, and then the mammals. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Let's start with the fish. So when we're talking about fish, we have a pretty clear mind of what a fish looks like. We've seen goldfish, we've seen sharks, but they have different groups that they will actually fit into. One of the groups you're going to have is you're going to have the jawless fish. Then you're going to have the cartilaginous fish, and these are going to be the fish that are going to be made of cartilage. And then you're going to have the bony fish. Now the jawless fish, these are going to be the fish. A good example of that is lampreys. These are, once again, as you can guess, they have no jaw. Instead, they're just going to have an opening to the mouth. If you were going to look at a picture of one of these, it almost just kind of looks like an eel, kind of. It'll have some fins, but very small on it. It's going to have the gills on the side, and then let's just draw a little fin on there and going across there. And so it's a little eye, and then inside here, you're just going to have a series of teeth, and it's going to latch on to whatever it's eating, and it's going to suck it up through its mouth, but it's not going to have anything that would actually close it. It just always remains open. And the cartilaginous fish, so if you want to know how to spell that, it's Cartilaginous. So it's a cartilaginous fish. These are going to be like your buddies, the sharks. And these are going to be any animals that are, any fish that are going to be made out of cartilage, and they're going to have this instead of bone. And the nice thing about cartilage is it's a lot more flexible than bone, and this allows sharks to be able to bend and contort in certain ways and be extremely fast and powerful swimmers. Now the last group we're going to find is we're going to find the bony fish, and these guys are going to have jaws, scales, and they're going to also have pockets that will hold the gills. So cartilaginous fish and bony fish are both going to have jaws. He obviously is not going to, but these are the 3 groups you're going to see with fish. Now, the next group we run into is we run into the amphibians. And amphibians that we commonly know are going to be frogs, toads, salamanders. An amphibian is a vertebrate that spends its early life in the water and its adult life on land. So again, if we're thinking of a frog, it's going to start off as a tadpole. So there's our friend the tadpole. And then slowly he's going to get arms and legs, and someday he will become a frog. That's my awesome drawing of a frog. There he goes, tail goes away, and there he is. So this is going to be his water self, and this is going to be his land self. And other amphibians are going to do that. And a lot of amphibians, you're going to find them very close to water, and that's going to be their characteristic from the offspring of being in the water to growing up and being adults on land. The next one we're running into is we're going to run to the reptiles. And the reptiles, along with the amphibians, are also going to be ectothermic, and remember ecto means outside, so they're going to be relying on outside sources for heat. So the ones that we're really going to get is we're going to get the ones that are going to be like the crocodiles, the alligators, and the caimans. You're going to get the chameleons, you're going to get the snakes. And so the way that these guys come is these are going to be land-based animals. But you can get a few that are aquatic that do some in the water, but they're still going to be mostly on land. I guess with the exception of like the sea turtle, but again, to have birth, it has to come back on land. Other than that, those are just the big things I really want you to know. They develop inside eggs, and they're going to be very tough eggs, and they come out of them. I don't know, reptiles, not too much that we don't already kind of have an idea of reptiles. Okay, the next one, the birds. So again, really the hardest part of all this is just gonna making sure that you remember the 5 different groups. And again, really that's not too hard. The hardest one you're actually going to get into is the subgroups of the mammals. Now, if we're looking at the birds, these guys are going to be endothermic. So again, they're going to be able to control the body temperature within. They're going to have a special thing about them is we're going to be introduced to the 4-chambered heart, and they're also adapted to flight. Most of them are going to be adapted to flight. And with the ones that do fly, is they're going to have hollow bones. And so you're going to have different types of birds. You can have your owl. You can have, your annoying pigeon, which I absolutely hate pigeons, but I'm sure somebody out there likes pigeons. Again, nothing too big that we're going to have to know about that. We'll talk about the feather a little bit in class, but we'll just go over that then. So, alright, and also, as you understand, birds also lay eggs to give birth. But that's something that you already knew. Okay, so the next group we move on to is the most important group, because it's the one we fall into, is the mammals. And the mammals are going to break down into 3 other groups. But first, let's talk about where the name mammal comes from. Now, these are endothermic vertebrates that have skin covered in fur or hair. We also are going to have a 4-chambered heart. And the young are going to be fed by milk producing organs. And these organs are called the mammary glands. Oops. And this is where the young are able to get their milk from. And so that's where the word mammal comes from, because we feed the offspring of milk. Now, the 3 groups that we're going to split into is we're going to have the monotremes, we're going to have the marsupials, and the placental mammal. Okay, so monotremes, these are just going to be mammals that, again, they're still going to have the fur, they're still going to have the mammary glands, they're going to give their young milk, and so that's why they still fit into mammals. But monotremes are actually going to be laying eggs. And again, the duck-billed platypus, that extremely odd character, he lays eggs, but he's still a mammal, so we call him a monotreme. Then you have the ones marsupials. And these are mammals that are born at a very early stage of development. And instead of actually going out into the world like you have like a baby, like a human baby or a different type of animal, marsupials, they're just going to stay inside the pouch until they are completely developed. So they'll be born, they'll be put in the pouch, and then when they're finally developed, then they'll be ready to go. Now, the placental mammal, these are mammals that are going to, when they're born, they're completely down. They don't need to go back in the pouch. You put them in an egg, you put them on a shelf. But placental mammals are going to be mammals that develop with inside the mother, and it's where placental comes from is that there's an organ called the placenta, and this is actually going to be passing nutrients to the baby from the mother, further developing the baby. So that's where the name placental mammal is going to come from. So those are the 3 groups. The mammals is probably the hardest one to remember. Just work on getting these ones down to the monotremes, the marsupials, and the placental mammals. And you just have to know what makes a difference. Monotremes are eggs, marsupials are pouch. Placental mammals pass nutrients through the placenta. Okay, cool. If you have any questions, just let me know. But until next time, I'll talk to you later.